Hi, fourth grade. Today we're going to dive into lesson 88 in math. It's titled Remainders in Real Life Story Problems. And I'll tell you, probably, I better go use hand sanitizer because I licked my fingers, although I don't think there are any germs on my math book because nobody's been around to touch it. I think the easiest way that this lesson can be related in real life would have to be when we go on field trips. So when we go on field trips, let me get my hand sanitizer and move on with life. You know, washing your hands for 20 seconds, doing all those safe things you're supposed to do. When we go on field trips, often there will be leftover kids that can't fit in all the vehicles. And so we have to have an additional driver come. So when you hear lesson 88, remainders in word problems about equal groups, that is real life math. So we're on lesson 88, example 1. But let's look at the board, okay? I'd call on one of you to read, but that's a little hard right now. So I will read. Lily needs to place 100 bottles into boxes that hold 6 bottles each. Question A, how many boxes can be filled? Question B, how many bottles will be left over? And problem C, how many boxes are needed to fill all the bottles? Let me see if I wrote that down right. How many boxes are needed to hold all the bottles? Okay? So it looks overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. So let's break it down. First of all, we're going to take 100 and divide it by 6. So let's go over here to this part of the board. This is so much easier in real life, but we're doing the best we can. So we have 100 bottles, and I need to go into 6 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm also a visual learner, so this is helpful. How many times can 6 hop inside 100? It can't. 6, it can go in there once. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring it down. How many times can 6 go into 40? Well, 6 times 7 with gum on their shoe, 6 times 7 is 42. So it'd have to be 6 times 6, which is 36. We're going to have 6 remainder 4. So let's go back to our questions from before. How many boxes can be filled? Well, that can be totally filled is only 16 boxes because it was 16 remainder 4. Man, I need a film crew. I'll move this all the way over. That way you can see. Because it was 16 remainder 4. So how many boxes can be totally filled? Or excuse me, how many bottles, how many boxes can be filled? Oh, we're going to have 16 full boxes. Because if you look here at the top, we have 16 remainder 4. And we can put 6 bottles in each box. So we're going to have 16 full boxes. Okay? 6 bottles in each. We can have 16 boxes. How many bottles will be left over? Well, what was our remainder? You're right, 4. But we're going to label it. How many bottles will be left over? 4 bottles will be left over. Okay? And then finally, how many boxes are needed to hold all the bottles? Well, we know that we can fill 16 of them. We know there's going to be 4 left over. But we're going to need how many boxes total? You're right, Gus. We're going to need 17 boxes total. And that leftover box will just have 4 in there. So let's look at our class. Okay? Let's say our class is going to go to the Niobrara Expo. I know, that was one of our field trips. Maybe that wasn't a good example. Okay? With Mrs. Anand, we have 13 people that need to go on the field trip, okay? And let's say we had 3 parents that said they could drive. Okay? So let's take 13 divided by 3. Okay? We're going to figure how many people can go in each car. Can 3 go into 1? No. How many times can 3 go into 13? Yes. 3 times 4 is 12. So we have 4, remainder 1. Okay? So let's say that Gus's mom can drive. She can hold 4 people. Let's say that Olivia's mom can drive. She can hold 4 people. And let's say Ryder's mom is going to drive, and she's going to hold 4 people. Well, that's just the class. Mrs. Anand is left over. So either we need to have another driver, or Mrs. Anand could drive by herself, or maybe one of these vehicles could put me in the front seat because I'm an adult. So today's lesson was remainders in real life story problems. And sometimes you're moving and you have books or boxes or bottles left over. Sometimes you're driving on a field trip and you have kids or people left over. So when you have a story problem, work backwards or draw a picture. But when you see words and you see numbers, don't automatically get confused. Break it down piece by piece. Thank you. Have a great day, 4th graders.